Hey there, fans. Just checking my volume, just checking my settings. And we are live. So, I hope you guys have been having a good week. This is session 9 of my Camp Zombie show design live stream. Today's going to be a cool day. I'm excited about it because I've been focusing on just the characters for the most part. We did a little bit of prop work with the airboat school bus design, and tonight we're going to be doing environment design. And I've been wanting to do this for a while. I've been itching to do this for a while because it's not my I've done it for shows and done it for things like that for pitches and stuff. But primarily I'm a character designer, but I also do the other stuff, and this is a fun way to show it. And I'm going to be sort of using two different programs tonight. I'll bring it over. Okay, so I pre-did a rough background, the kind of style that I want, and I'm going to brag on this a little bit because I had so much fun doing it. With the new computer I got, I was able to upgrade a program that I used to use a lot, but my old computer was just too slow to run it anymore, and that was Corel Painter. And Painter is an interesting program because it's for illustrators, hardcore illustrators. It mimics real media. So if you want to look like you're painting an impasto, really thick paint with the ridges in the paint and the brushwork and everything, you can on your tablet. Same thing with you can change the texture of the surface you're painting on for every layer you're painting on. I mean, it is a massive program. It's got a lot involved in it, but I used to love to use it to create textured backgrounds. And I figured that would be a really cool way to juxtapose the characters. And you get these flat characters that are more like 2D animation. And I want the backgrounds to be rough and fun and in a way like, when you see SpongeBob or when you see the old show, The Misadventures of Flapjack the Pirate. The backgrounds in that were super watercolory and washy and loose, and that's kind of what I'd like to do with this. But all that said, if you look at the screen right now, you can see a rough texture, and this is Painter. That's what Painter did for me. I can either paint directly on that texture, or I can apply it to a layer, and it'll put the ridges and everything there. You can change the light direction and the intensity of the ridges and how soft and how sharp and all that stuff. It's just the most amazing program. And I just wanted to kind of show it off, and I will do a whole episode with it in the future, a whole session with it in the future. But I figured I would give you a little intro as to how I did this background. I'll be showing it maybe next week or the week after on how I went about doing it. So, hey Sleep! How you doing? Good to see you tonight. Thank you so much for joining me. So as you know, two of the main characters right here. We got Venny and we got Lurkin. And I wanted to show you what they look like on this background, because that's... In animation, the background and the environment is just as much of a character as the characters that are running around. You have to look at it like that. At least I do, because that makes the background more rich and inviting. And even stuff that just flies by on screen, there's a lot of loving detail put into that stuff. And, I give a shout out to the background painters out there, because they're a huge part of the animation process. Just like effects animators, computer programs have replaced those guys for the most part, but man, back in the day, like at Disney and things like that, you'd have effects animators that did lightning and fire and rain and wind and stuff moving around in the backgrounds, things like that. And those guys were genius at what they did. And I like to pay a little bit of homage to stuff like that. So we're gonna start designing. I think to start with, we're gonna design like Vinny's cabin, like the cabin that he shares with a few of the campers, and that will give us, because we're always starting with him as the design for the characters and the launching point to keep them all in the same style. We're gonna do the same thing with his cabin, and we're just gonna have some fun with it. And I'm glad you guys are joining me. And let's get started. So. Let me get rid of these guys. I'll keep Vinny up there because I always like having him up there. It's a really good reminder of the design style of the show. And this is going to be super rough. And I think I'm going to do the paint in Painter. And that's when I'm doing the paint and stuff. Later on, we'll do it in Painter. But as you can see, too, in the way I did the paint on him, you can actually see through him to the background, that texture, which is kind of nice. it adds a really cool thing to show off to the company that you're looking to get uh, the show done with. Like it kind of gives an aesthetic to the characters, makes it beautiful. Um, so I'm gonna create a okay. I'm gonna create a brand new layer. Let me get that at the bottom. We're just gonna have some fun with the buildings tonight. I'm gonna go in with. Let me see something real quick. Oh, that's way too dark. Okay. Yeah, that's good, but I want it to be much, much lighter than that. Yeah, that's good. It's real washy. I'm not, I'm just kind of base shape. Like what kind of shape do I want? And it's real loose. I'm going with what I kind of had in my head, and we'll see where it takes us. A little bit of rough perspective going on. Remember, this is in the swamp, and I was trying to find a happy balance in color between the show's Gravity Falls because like Flapjack. The companies really like to have like a frame of reference. Like you can kind of tell them like, this show is out there, and I'm kind of going like I want to give them at least a little tiny cube or granule of familiarity to go off of. Oh, I'm so glad you like the texture. Yeah, it's a lot of fun to make, and it's a lot of fun to paint on in Painter. When I'm doing a lot of finished stuff, I'll do that. So I'm just roughing in shapes, just nothing too fancy, just getting it out there, and I might change a few things as we go. And there's a fun little building back here that I'm going to have some fun with. I'll tell you what that is in a minute. Everything's kind of up in the air because, you got swampy ground and water down there, and you got gators and things like that, one of which we've already designed. So, if you look at the side of the road in a lot of, because I live in Florida, I live in Orlando. If you look at the side of the road, you see a lot of those kiosks that sell like boiled peanuts and things like that, and usually a tin roof, and they're really old, and that's the kind of thing I'm going for, like old Florida. In some ways, it reminds me a little bit of like when you'd see a movie about the Vietnam War, something like that. Some of the houses that are on stilts and such that you'd see in some of those movies. That's kind of what it reminds me of, a little bit. So, the roofs are like tin and maybe a little bit rusted. Really, like I said, really, really rough. Nothing. Just kind of throwing ideas down and see what sticks. It's a little bit like the, throwing eggs at a wall and watching it run down a little bit. Little bit of indication of the ground here. Let me raise this up just a little bit. Bring it over here. And I might flip the canvas so the sun's on the other side. We'll see. Give me something better to work with. Where was my brush? Where'd my brush go? Ah, there it is. Okay. Oops. We'll give a little indication of like, other cabins off in the distance. And there's the swampy kind of grass and such. And I don't want a definite water line. I'm just kind of indicating a little bit of water in the background. I don't want a water line because I want it to be a little hazy. I want it to look hot and humid, and that's Florida, man. That's South Florida. I chose instead of doing it in Louisiana, because originally my idea was to set it in the bayou of Louisiana, but I don't know Louisiana. I haven't lived in Louisiana. I've only been there once or twice. So I wanted to make it easier by doing what I know. Um, in this sense, it'll just give honesty to the show. Um, yeah, it does, doesn't it? I didn't even think about that, but that is very true. Like a lean-to shed kind of vibe, which is, oh my god, that's there could be a whole like subset of things going on with, since the characters, all the kids characters are kind of have that same base shape. You know, their bunk beds would be hilarious to play with the coop design. um, you know, and that may be just subconscious. You know, it's wouldn't surprise me, but you know, maybe there's a little ladder over here down. I'm just roughing in shapes, and like I said, this stuff can all change completely, and you know, just take some of that out and add a. You know, I was in thinking about it, I was like, wouldn't it be funny if they had like a toilet seat hanging over a door with their, you know, with their cabin number in the middle of it, and some kind of crappy flag, you know, um, with the logo of the camp or their numbers, you know, something like that on it, as we go. So I put that in a bad place. And I'm wearing my Monty, the Unfortunate Octopus t-shirt tonight. That's one of my other series. If you go to my website, which is at the top of the screen right now, you can see the images from that series. I'm working on a new one of those, and it's sometimes you're working on a piece of art and everything just falls into place. And it all day long, yesterday and today, it's just been falling into place. Just one of those really great drawing moments where you're like, oh, this idea is just so easy to do. And I love it when that happens. It's just, you know. Was going to put arm, you know, like handrails and stuff on, but nah, it's a kids camp. It's dangerous. It's supposed to look dangerous. Yeah, nests, or yeah, they would. You're right. They would have nests or something like that. Like the owner, you know, just cheap, cheap, cheap. And I'm thinking the camp would be really great looking back when Lurkin was actually alive, when he worked there as a chef, something like that, or a chef, a cook. Um, let's shrink all this down just a little bit. I don't want it to get too overwhelming. And I'm just throwing the shapes down and seeing, you know, where it lands. Maybe some weird cockeyed kind of a sign there or something, you know. What was that? That was weird. Undid itself. Get rid of this cone. Looks too much like a grain mill or a grain silo, and I don't want that. At least not on this building. Because it's the Everglades. Why would they have a, you know? But maybe there is one. Maybe that's, you know, the entrance to the camp owner's like secret lab or something like that, you know. And I might do several buildings tonight if I get going good on this, and you know. Thing is, it doesn't look crappy enough yet. It doesn't look crappy enough yet. I want it to look really crappy. Getting there. Maybe there's a rope kind of thing kind of going out in the water here. Just going to put a line for where the horizon line is. I'm not going to draw it in, but all right, let me, now that I've got just some kind of basic shapes laid down, I'm going to take and do just some rough lines, some base lines. Old rough pencil again. Always love it. Always, always love it. It's my favorite tool in here. No. Yeah. Yeah, I'm really, really liking drawing on the canvas, and I'll speak to that a little bit. I watched. I have a bunch of old DVDs from to special effects and concept art school called the Gnomon Workshop, and they specialize in hardcore science fiction and like concept art and modeling and things like that. And they would get guest artists to come in and teach these courses that they would have on DVD, and I spent like $800. Yeah, you already guessed what that little building was. Of course. But one of the artists on there was Ian McCaig, and he's a world-class concept artist. If you don't know who he is majorly responsible for a lot of the stuff in the Star Wars prequels and a bunch of the stuff in the new Star Wars movies. Whether or not you like those, I'm not a huge fan of the direction they took, but I do love the production work on them. He designed all of Queen Amidala's special dresses, like that red one that she wore with the lit, like, yellow spheres at the bottom. Anyway, he does not like drawing on pure white paper or screen or whatever. He likes to have, if he's drawing on a piece of pure white paper, he'll actually put a coffee ring on it with his coffee, something, so that it's not just stark and white, something to go off of. And that's kind of what goes on when you're drawing on tone, a tone canvas or tone paper or something like that. It gives your eye something more to use. Okay, there's going to be some kind of pipe here that's like a drain from the roof. Why, I don't know. It's a swamp, but hey, who cares? It's cool looking. There we go. But he would do that, and then he would lay down a tone on the paper in the demo that he was giving, and it made total sense. Like, it worked. What's hilarious? The outhouse. For those that are watching watching this on playback later on, I'm answering questions in the live feed, so I'll try my best to remember to repeat what the question said. Somebody was asking about an outhouse, and that's what this little building was. And so, for the record, too, I also want the background to, have these. I don't want it to be totally painted. I want it to have sketchy lines. I love sketchy lines, always have. And my Monty series has tons of sketchy lines, and it tells a story through interactive artwork for your wall. And you can change the order of the pieces that I get done as long as you start with number 1 and the last one. This poor octopus's story, you can change them up on your wall and take some out, add some in, make it as shorter as long as you want. You can change his story on your wall. And they're all sketchy lines, and the color's kind of loose. It's not quite as tight, and it's really fun. And I'm like, well, why can't we apply that to the background of this? Wouldn't that be cool? Yeah, so, there's gaps. Like, crappy looking gaps and stuff like that. And it'd probably be one of those things, just like in the cartoon world, it's bigger on the inside. I don't think Doctor Who was the first one to come up with the idea of something being bigger on the inside. That's almost like riffing off of every single cartoon that's ever been made. Buildings are always bigger on the inside because they need it to tell the story. They just need to set up the outside with a shot. This different level of paneling that comes down. And now I'm setting up the wall to put stuff on, so it's it's gonna be. I don't want to overcomplicate it, but it is going to have a little bit of a TGI Fridays kind of a feel with crap hanging everywhere. Maybe there's a rope or something tied from the drain pipe to the outhouse. For whatever reason. I don't know. But I like the idea of it being... the more sketchy it looks, this is going to sound so weird, the sketchier the background is, the more artsy it is. I mean, that just sounds, it's all art, of course, but something about that rough, hand-drawn look that is so inviting on shows and such. You know, it's just going to do it dark here. And I'm going to make the... I want to make the legs really stilty and kind of gangly. Gotta be careful of those kissing lines. I talked last week about kissing lines. I don't like them. The lines that just kind of converge together when they, Yeah, road signs, something, in Florida it would be the... Alligator Alley is the name of the highway down there that goes across the Everglades. I've driven it so many times I can't even count, and there is nothing to do there. I mean, but it's beautiful, and there's just a ton of wildlife. And I'm not sponsored on this video or anything, but I am going to give a shout out to a company I really like. They're called Grounds and Hounds. I'm drinking out of a mug that they sell. Just says, happiness can't be bought, but can be rescued. And it's handmade by a company called Deneen Pottery, and they sell their mugs to them. But Grounds and Hounds has this thing right now. If you go to their website, I think it's groundsandhounds.com, where they have a coffee that they're selling called Rescue Roast. And every dime goes towards the Beagle Freedom Project, I think it's called, but it's about rescuing beagles from testing labs. And my wife and I are big beagle people. I got one sleeping right down here next to me. He's just chilling out and having fun. But I'm just going to give them a shout out. So if you're ever online and you're checking them out, by all means, check them out, because that's a great cause. So I don't do a lot of shout outs like that, but this one was worthy, and I like charity stuff, so especially when it comes to animals. Yeah, this would be some kind of, maybe they got portholes or something here. I don't know. I'm just going to throw shapes there and see what they turn into later on. Maybe they've taken a stop sign. Just throw shapes on there. And they've got kind of a watch, a little kind of a tower or something like that. Janky little lines and stuff. Yeah, there should be, I'm thinking there should be some kind of episode or something, if this was a real show, that deals with like roadside vendors and boiled peanuts, and how, that's not a copyrighted thing. I can use it if I want. They sell them all over the place. But I've had them. They're not bad. If you've never had them. It sounds gross, but it's not. like I said, it's very, very loose perspective. I'm not trying to, you know. And this one, you know, you got to think yourself, it's on stilts. And there's a toilet in there. Where does it go? So we're going to put a pipe. I want it to be a little bit practical. I get a very tall, thin door. I don't want it to look like it's easy for the campers to get in and out of. Just for funsies, I'm going to put a pair of saloon doors on it. Nah, that's too gross. No. That'd be funny, but this is a kid's show. I do set rules. Just like with Vinny, the question was, when you design backgrounds, do you set a few rules in the beginning or leave the rules for later? Like, just like Vinny for the characters, I set a foundation of design that I use as a template. Even when I'm designing a new character, there has to be enough similarity to keep them in the same show, but enough difference to make them unique. And the backgrounds are even more so setting the tone for the show. I kind of did that a little bit with the airboat. It's got kind of this sketchy, kind of loose quality to it, and we're going to keep on that kind of design aesthetic. And this isn't the final sketch. This is the layout rough lines, and I will be doing a final sketch that is loose. It is loose, but it's controlled loose, I guess is the right term that I'm trying to say. It's... I guess, yeah, but I'm setting the tone in this drawing right here to go off of all the others. So I'll basically take this building or one of these buildings and shrink it down. Oh, I might have to sneeze soon. Pardon me. And shrink it down and use it as the base design for, like, the lodge that they all meet in, or the director's cabin or something. You know, I'm thinking for the airboat garage for the driver, he doesn't live in there. He lives in like an Airstream style crappy rusted out trailer that's right next to the little garage area that they keep the airboat. Gotta watch where I'm throwing those lines. So yeah, so I'll erase a little bit as I'm coming up because I gotta put a little platform out here for them to stand on. Like I said, it's loose. I'm gonna fix a lot of it in the sketch, like some of the design flaws, because there's a few, definitely a few, but that's okay. And it's a plank, you know. And I'm exaggerating some of the perspective because you want to give the character somewhere to go. Maybe there's some kind of like little gateway into each cabin in this one, you know, because they're in cabin 13 of all places. That's the name of that's their cabin number. And no, it's too grandiose. They don't get a sign that big. They get a single post with a number on it. And I know I'm drawing on top of another building in the background. I'm gonna move that. That's still too high. I'm not gonna. Let's bring it down a little bit because these campers are, you know, he's not scaled. There we go. Maybe put it in a little rough kind of frame of some kind. Now, I haven't certainly gone nuts enough with this yet. I'll put some writing here. Figure something out like it is some kind of sign. And it needs, for night times, it needs some kind of lamp or light or something. I mean, that was, you know. Just throw a shape up there. Bulb's broken. Oh no. Put one of those cages they have on there that you'd see. See a lot of those in Florida too because of hurricanes. So it is accurate. Like I said, they've got a toilet seat hanging up here. Maybe it's from the outhouse and they've never been able to get it down. I mean, in a regular show, all this stuff is kind of going on at the same time. Like, I wouldn't be designing the whole thing by myself. There's a whole team of people. I'm just showing each aspect, of a show design. There's like bumper stickers and signs hanging here, and I don't know, tchotchkes and little, maybe stuff that's like been, welded on, You get a combination of wood and corrugated metal kind of a thing. Okay. Moving forward, let me erase some of that and make it a little cleaner. Alright. Let me go back to this and move this just a little bit. Put it way in the background. Yeah, there we go. That's a much better place for it. Right there. And it's kind of barren. It looks almost like it could be a desert. We're going to fix that too. Foliage. Lots of foliage because the Everglades, man, it's not there's a lot of trees. There's just a lot of growth. So we're going to work on that. Oh, and my apologies. Last time I was saying I couldn't remember. I don't think I've made names for these characters. The driver I did make a name for. His name was Big Dealy Neely. Was Big Dealy was his his racing name, and his first name is actually Wheelie, so his name is really Wheelie Big Dealy Neely, which is kind of funny. I totally blitzed out on that, and the name of the director was Mr. Scratchell. So there you go. That was I had a brain fart during the last one. Oh, let me rough. Oop, wrong layer. Let me rough some of these in, and I don't know what these other buildings are. Could other cabins or storage rooms, storage sheds, or I don't know. One of these is going to be a guest cabin or something, and it's going to be like what they call the guest of honor cabin, but it's still crappy. It's still. Put these kind of islands of connection. Because I would think the director, he hates kids. Like that's one of his things is he hates kids. So, maybe this one has a ladder or something like a rope ladder instead. Okay. Oh, I almost forgot the door. I like these kind of jaunty angles, playing with buildings and stuff for these kind of backgrounds. Put one of those doors in that has the slats. There's a lot of those in Florida, old school Florida. They did it to let air into the building without giving up privacy because it gets so hot down there. Also keeps pressure from building up inside of a building if there's a hurricane. Oh, I got it. Maybe this is the communication shed, like it's the announcement shed. Like there's a big old it's where they wake the kids up at, and it just happens to be near the cabin of the main characters, so scares the living crap out of everybody. Like the roof has a hinge on it and it flies up and all the kids come flying out of their beds, you know, and then drop back down into the cabin first thing in the morning. That would be awesome. Some kind of bell or something, just for fun. I don't know. Like I said, I'm just kind of putting in shapes. I'm not. Throw some foliage in. Because what we're really going for, this would be kind of like the beauty shot of the cabin. There would be other, you know, many other shots of this cabin, you know, up close to the door and everything as they're going up to it and coming out. And, you know, you've seen shows before. You've seen the cartoons before. You know how that works. Maybe there's some kind of trap door under here that they can come out of with a rope ladder. But I don't want it to look very safe. That's my thing. I don't want it to look safe. I always see pipes coming out of cabins, even when I don't see, like there's a stove or something in there, even though I don't see a stove. It's just for looks, because you're going with familiarity. You're going with what people see. Oh, a satellite dish would be a good idea. Yeah, I might throw that in. That's a great idea. One thing I will say is that you notice that there's no reference up here. I'm very observant. I try to be observant. It's one thing I've seen a lot of other artists do. They just look at the world around them all the time, get ideas from a lot of different places. You know, try and be as creative as possible with where you get your ideas from. Sorry, this is driving me crazy because it was pointed the same direction as the other one. And now it doesn't work. Okay. There we go. That's better. I'm going to do one thing. If I want to put a satellite dish, I got to give it room. I don't want to create too much. vertical. Now, so I'm going to drop this down here. Hello. There we go. Okay. I was like, sometimes it doesn't. Let's replace this to a different. Drop this down right here. I'll worry about down here in a minute. I got to give a satellite dish a place to go. So this actually works a little bit better. There we go. Okay, now because of all the angles, I got to figure out the best angle for this thing. Right? The sound waves. That's right. And everything shakes. But we'll put a little kind of trap door up here. Ooh, actually already kind of planned for that, didn't I? I put a panel up there that was welded. We're gonna maybe it's the very center that pops open, and there's another one on the other side. So it opens like this, and there's a kind of cool satellite dish that comes out. Let's go the other way with it. I gotta figure out where I have the biggest space. There we go. Again, it's experimentation. I'm not entirely happy with something. I can I don't know where a satellite dish should figure into the show, but it gives me something new to play with. Yes, trapdoors. It's a camp. It's got kids. There needs to be secret passages and trapdoors and all kinds of crazy cool stuff. That's, you know. Oh, you know what? I don't want a round satellite dish. I want one of those squarish, concave radar dishes like they had in World War II. That's what I'm looking for. Because that gives me an angle. Maybe it's a like it's not about getting TV, it's about getting communication. Yeah. I'm liking this a lot better. I don't know what that looks like. I'm just kind of making it up, but it looks real enough. I know enough to get it. This is something that I would go look at reference after this now, and then, you know, make it better. Let's get that curve better. One thing I would ask of those that are watching too, if you're enjoying this, definitely give the video a like. You know, and you guys have been doing that. That's great. I really appreciate it because that does help. It helps with my metrics behind the scenes, and helps it get promoted to other people on. But also, if you could share the link to my channel, whenever you get a chance, if you're of a mind, that would really be helpful too. and just kind of give people a reminder that I'm on every Thursday night at 8. You can even put a link to my website. You know, that'll work too. That's where the artwork is. That's where most of the artwork is. Needs to come out further. That gets lost. So let's. Make it a circle. That's better. And you know, I'm not feeling the down here at the base. I need to put it in the center. But I do appreciate you guys coming on Thursdays and watching me come up with this crazy, nutty, weird stuff, you know. And I need to turn that just a little bit. And it'll look better when it's cleaned up. I'm just, like I said. Oh, that's so much better. There we go. That's better. Okay. Just one little thing can change everything, you know. There we go. Yes. That's definitely... Now I can actually make it bigger. Let's make it bigger, just a little bit bigger. Let me give it some size. Yes. Okay. Now that looks like a fun cabin, right? That looks like a fun cabin. Let me get rid of some of this background noise. Do it better this way. Just getting rid of some of those excess ones so I can see what I'm doing better. Yeah, okay. Let me get a little bit of definition of this other building back here. Just, you know, I'll give it... They do. They all look like little bitty chicken coops. Like I said, I wasn't trying to do that on purpose, but it works. Smile, like I have to make the graphics big enough for people to see on a TV screen and not worry too much about what every sign says. It has to indicate that it's graffitied or a street sign, but without actually having to go in and do a ton of detail, because the idea of this, just like the characters, is to give the idea of what it is in the simplest way possible while still telling the story, and still using the style. It is hard. It's an art form, and a lot of people want to do it, but they don't want to spend the time it takes to master the craft, as it were. Oh, I almost forgot the drain pipe. Gross drain pipe. There we go. Move that leg in just a little bit. It's holding up the outhouse. Kids aren't stupid. They'll know what the pipe's for. Put the handle on the other side. Get a simple door handle like that. That building. Maybe there's a kind of a penalty kind of cabin or something. If you've ever seen The Parent Trap, they got sent to one. The Haley Mills version, actually both, they did. There's bars in the windows of this one. indicate a little bit of a growth back in the background. It's a lot of fun. I'm having a lot of fun with this. It's not often I get to do environments to this level. I think we'll do some cleanup work. Tonight I'm about a little over halfway done with the evening, so pull him back up. Let's do something fun. Let's take Vinny and put him size appropriate. So let's take about right there. Yeah, about right there. So that's front door, that's about right, but that tells you it's bigger on the inside. That makes it fun. All right, so let's bring the background down a little bit more, bring this down a little bit more, and we can start it on something that's not quite this loose, but still not super tight. Yeah, Parent Trap. There you go. My people. Oh, yeah. Which version, the Haley Mills or the, oh, what's her face? What's the actress's name? The redhead. I'm losing it. But I prefer the Haley Mills version because it's nostalgia, but they're both really good. They're both really, really good. Dennis Quaid as the dad in the remake was amazing. Yeah, it does. There's a comment that says it looks Shaq without looking smelly. Exactly. And I don't want it to be too gross. So, all right, let's do some tight. A little too dark. A little bit too dark. I don't want to do quite that dark. And let's take the density of this. There we go. I want my sketch lines to look sketchy. We'll see how far we get. I'll probably continue this. If I don't get all the way that I want to this week. Lindsay Lohan, thank you. Thank you. I don't know. I'm great with faces. Like I'm all visual. I've got a near eidetic memory with visual stuff, especially when I go down to Disney to draw tourists. But names, man. Probably because she hasn't done anything really big in a while, and she had kind of a crash with her career. I do know that. So, you know what? I use the baselines as a cue for things. So I want to give this a little bit. I want to make it curved, but I also want to make it curved on the top and the bottom too, to really give it some attitude. And I'll redraw the same line over and over again until I get it right. That's better. Let's get rid of a little bit of, like I said, I want to leave a little, and I'll throw some sketch lines in there just to make it look sketchier. Like I'll throw some stuff like that, you know. But yeah, I think their mom was played by Natasha Richardson. So the older names I can remember. I don't even know. Oh, you've got to see the original with Haley Mills. Beat by beat, it's very much the same story, but it makes you appreciate the remake even more. Starred Brian Keith or David Keith. One is the father, one's the son, and Maureen O'Hara as the mother and father. And a little bit of fact that I do know is the woman, she was briefly in the Lindsay Lohan, was she played his new fiance's mother, her mother that came to the wedding planning at the end of the hotel, and she called the little girls her pet. You know, she actually was the original actress that played the fiance in the original movie. Little bit of Hollywood trivia for you there. I cannot remember her name either. So, just leave it at that. All right. weird thing. Sometimes I get these stray lines right now, and that's how the new computer reacts to the Walkman. I don't know why. It's very odd. Okay. Yeah, that was when Lindsay Lohan was young. I think she was 13 when she made that movie. See, I'm keeping it still sketchy. I'm keeping the lines loose, but it's still tighter than the original, and that's kind of how I want it. That's oh, very good. Yeah, I guarantee you, if you enjoyed the remake, you'll be amused by the first one. I can't say what you'll like, what you don't like, but it is very entertaining. There's some cheesy dialogue and music in it, of course, because it was made in the early '60s. But it's fun. It's nostalgic. You can see it on Disney Plus. I think they're both on there. Kind of come back and look. Yes. Yes, yes. I'm trying to work quickly but accurately. I want to show an indication of gears and things like that with the wheels and stuff, but like I said, I don't want it to be too... Put this out here to kind of show a little bit of a electricity or signal going on, just for fun. Old cartoonist trick. I'm not like I said here, like you can see, I'm not following the lines exactly. I'm following like the soul of the line, if you will, like the heart of it, where I want it to go, where I've indicated. Make this kind of bent, maybe. Yeah, that's good. That's looking good. A little bit of a hint of a hinge there. I made one mistake with the perspective on this. I gotta get it right. I didn't follow this bottom line. It looks kind of a funky angle. Yes, it goes back in perspective, but I pushed it too far and it looks a little too jaunty. And I want it to be somewhat structured. You know, there's this weird, indescribable balance that I always try and find with this kind of work. And only you know where that is. There we go, that's good. That's what I'm looking for right there. Just an indicator of the door behind it. With a little, you know, whatever it is, the lean-to roof. And there is a piece of it the other side. Some of these only have the one, like right here, it's only the one. This is both. That's better. I was losing the curve in some of these places that I really like. This kind of like inside bow that just looks rickety and funky. I always love drawing buildings like that. It's just a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Now the walls are made of wood. uneven wood that's been hurriedly thrown up and cut. And I like the idea of making this some kind of street sign that's been attached. But only one thing holding it up. Maybe I'll put a little arrow on it or something. And just indicate some writing. I don't have to show the whole thing, but there's... See, just enough to show that it's that kind of a thing. It's still too rough. That was... I should have planned that out better. It didn't follow the like 80% rough rule that I'm giving myself. Let me go in a little closer. And you can see the pencil line, like I've given, I'm allowing the pencil to stay less dense because I like the pencil line. And I'm not coming in this close for the whole drawing because I don't want to start to be too precise. I'll lose the look. If I come in too close and I noodle it, I'll lose the look I want. But this area required it to be a little bit more precise because I need to. Since they're in the Everglades, everything would be north, right? Okay. Make it a little more pipe-like if I only have a few straps holding it up. And it's kind of bent and crappy. Somebody's house alarm is going off outside. Yay. Apologies if you heard that. It's just my neighborhood. There we go. I had to keep the curve going. Actually, you know what? Let's have a towel hanging out of there. Something. Just a little indication of something inside. Don't know what it is yet, you know. Maybe the door, since there's a door going, you know, stuff up on the walls. Just little hints here and there. Nothing too big. And I need the supports for this back building, this tower, kind of rising up. Maybe it's their lookout tower. Be hilarious if the backstory was like this used to be some kind of military base, because Florida was full of them, especially South Florida. And they're using old military equipment. I'm going to erase some of these lines. But I want that first stroke perfect sketch line. I'm always looking for those, man. I'm always redrawing and redrawing and finding that perfect looking line. I'll erase where I know I'm gonna get rid of some of it. There we go. Yeah. Oops. Be really funny too if the way that there's not phones at the camp except for to call out of the camp, but the way that the cabins communicate with each other is like the old vacuum tubes, like you'd see in office buildings in New York back in the 20s and 30s, where you drop a tube with a piece of paper and it would go shooting to another part of the building. Yeah, that's actually a really good idea. I like that. There was a comment on here that says, "I'm liking the sad face on the wall. I'm wondering if it could be like splash paint or like melted ice cream to make it more droopy." Yeah, sleep. That's a good idea. I like that. Maybe take it off the paper and just paint it on the wall. That'd be kind of cool. Great idea. Fantastic. Play around with that. Go in. That I will need to go in closer for, because that's maybe take down the size of my brush a little. Put in some painted eyebrows. Give it a little bit of... Yeah, I'm liking that. I like it. I like that a lot. Appreciate the idea on that. That's great. Maybe they've painted the... like a little outline of a head or something, and it has to move with the wood that it's painted on. Nah, I don't like that. I think I'll leave it just painted on the wood itself. That's a good idea. The circle, I don't know, it takes away some of the uniqueness of it. So I still draw these lines here. But imagine if it, you're right, imagine if it was painted onto the wood, or dripped onto the wood, or like it's dripped down from the window. Somebody was eating their ice cream, sadly, by the window. It's great. That's great. Yes. Now here I'm really going to play with the corrugated metal instead of wood. I like patterns. I like, as you guys saw in some of my artwork on my website, I love textures. You know, fur, hair, you know, all kinds of different textures, and corrugated metal is another texture. And I'm going to play with that here. And when I'm doing this in color, if I'm going to add color to it, I'll put rust on it. Make this square. Make sure it's showed it's kind of bolted on. And not everything has to make sense, you know. I mean, I make things mechanical and make them look real sometimes, but not everything has to make absolute sense. There's a little bit of wonder in the fact that just I like the design and that's the way I'm going to keep it, you know, kind of a thing. Like that curve, it just doesn't fit exactly, and that's fine because it's funny the way it is. It kind of bends back on itself a little. Too sketchy, need more definition. There we go. Okay. Let's get the toilet seat done. That's a big toilet seat, man. I'm telling you. I'm exaggerating, like it's made for an adult, you know, because that definitely... Vinny'd fall right through that thing, man. thing there. Maybe the camp logo, they've hung a toilet seat around the camp logo, kind of signify their feelings on the matter, shall we say? Yeah, I keep the greenery, at least for right now, basic, because I want the focus to be on the buildings. If I make the greenery too complicated, it spreads the attention across the entire thing too broadly. So I want to keep the focus on the buildings. I want the foliage to be real simple. You know, I'm choosing strategically where to put the detail. Nail right there holding it up. And this wouldn't be a very environmentally friendly camp. There'd be litter everywhere, things like that, you know, just stuff over the years that's accumulated, old bicycles and really funny stuff that you wouldn't find anywhere else, like stuffed animals from theme parks and things like that, because it is Florida. I don't like the bell back here. I'm not gonna put it there. I need something there, maybe another lamp or something, but the bell doesn't make sense right there. I'll put another lamp in the back maybe. Like I said, as I said, sometimes things don't have to make sense, but I want that to make sense. It's my own decision. Maybe there's a slat missing. That's how the kids see who's at the door. Okay. Oh, it's a screen door. Ooh. Dang. Dang. Okay. Let me see what it looks like with a screen door. I gotta try. Yeah, I like that better. That's more Florida. I can put the slat somewhere else. Maybe in a shutter or something like that. But screen door. Total screen door. I know what should be hanging back here. Bug zapper. Mosquitoes, baby. Everybody that lives in Florida knows what those are. I mean, shoot. I was born in Michigan. We had them up there too. Alright, got about 15 minutes left. Let's see how far we can get. Let me see if I can get this main building done. I'll work on the others. There'll be a part 2 next week. I'll work on the others. Maybe just start throwing on some color. I like it when you guys are thinking inside the box and are thinking outside the box, giving me suggestions. It's kind of cool. They don't all work, but it shows creativity, and I love that. I love the creativity. And I'm like you. I want to see, hey, what would that look like? That's kind of a cool idea. Let's try it. You know. So let's make this corrugated like the front of the building too. It's okay, buddy. My dog's moaning down here. He's just having a dream. Yeah, so I think Lost Bear Studios didn't do their podcast, or Greg didn't do the podcast this week. I think he's dealing with that new puppy he was talking about. He got a new Great Dane puppy, and I think he said something about that. So hopefully it won't. I mean, that's awesome. I love dogs. I love dogs. Maybe put a little indicator of smoke coming out of here. Just a little indicator. I'll put it with a paint or steam or something. I don't know. So yeah, hopefully he'll be back on track, but I totally get it. And I am going to take this green outline template that I got. It's still too much like his, and I don't want to keep that. It was just a good start to see if it would work. Bug Zapper Rackets. Oh. Yeah, I think I have. Like the batteries are like inside the handles, and you can actually swap them and electrocute them at the same time. Oh my gosh, yes. I think I have seen those. That's hilarious. I think I saw it in Sky Mall, the Sky Mall catalog on an airplane of all places. It sounds like one of the things you'd find in there. um, but yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. That's hilarious. I would love to use one just to try it. Man, with mosquitoes around here, I mean, it's Florida, man. I would, yeah. Little indicator of some bugs, you know. But yeah, you can't. This needs some kind of a. They always have some kind of a little cap on them. That. Yeah, I have. I'm glad you said that. Yeah, that's hilarious. I would love to try and use one of those. Just to try it once. That'd be fun. I'm just kind of indicating the same kind of way that the wood comes down. I don't want to do that. That's not what I want to do with that. Let me. That's too rough. I want to. Yep, 10 minutes. Doing good. Doing good. I don't mind having the lines go through sometimes too. It helps to get the rough quality across that I want. So you'll see me not worry about like. I'll leave that there. Not worry about if lines intersect. I like the sketchiness. Yeah, I'm kind of excited to see his puppy. You know, Great Dane puppies are adorable and they're big. And you know, super well, really good disposition, really sweet. And I guess it sounded like he grew up with him. So, um, yeah, he has one scheduled. I think it's a continuation of the last ones that he did. So I'm looking forward to that. Um, yeah. There we go. Let me back off from this and look at it. Yeah, that looks fun. That looks really fun. Okay. I like that. So for those that are interested, my Monty octopus one that's coming up. The next series has him putting on a puppet show. The next illustration in the series, and charging. He's going to try and bribe his way to get back into the water. He's charging the sailor that's there. He's charging him money, and he's using the captain that pulled him out of the water from the first image as one of the puppets, and he's putting on a show about the captain like having his love not requited by the captain's, by a captain's like romantic interest. There it is. All right. And it just fell into place. Like I can't explain it. Sometimes it's like I said. Sometimes the drawings just kind of flow, and it's awesome. It just works. There we go. Just giving a little bit of definition to the plank stair, or these kind of plank walkways. You'll find a lot of these at like these kind of like mini zoos that have gators in them. There's a lot of these kind of plank walkways all over the place, and maybe the kids zip line places. Like there's a zip line going because that's a big thing in Florida. That'd be fun. Throw those lines in there because there's. I mean, it is rope, but I don't want to do the threading on the rope right now. That's just too much. I can't. I'll indicate it with color or something. Nobody takes care of the stuff at the camp, so the grass, the weeds and things that are up around the pillars are all overgrown and gross and dangerous. A lot of predators and such growing in there. I'll give an indicator as far as the water goes. Just a light indicator because there's going to be because the grass does grow there. It's but you've got these. I want them to be like these little. I want the kids to feel isolated. That's the thing. I want the cabins to feel isolated. And putting them on these little islands in this swamp does that. It helps everybody feel separated, and I want that to be a general thing. Like the kids bond together, and they're not isolated anymore, regardless of what the villainous director of the camp does, or the mean camp counselors, or whatever. I want it to be cool because the kids are there. Like it's an interesting place, but by itself it'd be kind of alone and scary. But I'm getting there. Cattails, I know. I'm not there yet. I put the lines down. It was coming. Jumping ahead of me. Let's get rid of some of that. I want it to overlap a little to show how tall some of these things are. Yeah, that fit. I need to cut those lines. There we go. Need to cut the lines a little bit or else it doesn't look right. Now, I also imagined that when I do the garage kind of thing for the airboat bus driver, he's got the crappy trailer that he lives in, the big garage, and underwater, the water next to it where the alligator lives. There's another lean-to house like that, but it's underwater. Like it's just like the one stuff up top, but he built it underwater for this alligator because he loves his alligator. So, all right, got about a couple minutes left. Let me finish up by Throwing some detail on here. Like I said, I wanted this kind of swirl around the sun and everything to kind of show you the heat, but the water is going to be brackish and green. And brackish means, and I said this a couple weeks ago, brackish is a mix of freshwater and saltwater, and that's very much down there. You will actually find sharks and alligators living in the same waters in South Florida. It's crazy and super dangerous. So let me throw a little here. All right. I think that's a good place to stop for this time. Yeah, this is coming along good. I'm going to do a part 2 to this, work on the rest of it, and start throwing some color on. You'll see the lines. I'm not going to paint over the lines. I really like the way they're going because I still want that sketchy kind of animated feel. But you might see the color offset slightly, almost like what a watercolor would look like. Yes, I know you're excited. Cattails. Oh, I forgot the sign. I want to get the sign done. So I'll work a little bit with that. I might actually pull it into Painter and work a little bit in Painter with that. And you'll see me switch programs. And Painter has a completely different layout. It is very, when you pull the colors up, it actually has like all the tertiary and analogous and colors from the color wheel, and you can play with all kinds of crazy stuff. I can't even get into some of it because there's just so much to look at. There we go. Yeah, that's a decent. Let me at least get the moon in. A little too much of a curve there. There we go. Okay. Well, I hope you guys had a good time tonight. This was certainly a lot of fun for me. I've been aching to get at the background stuff for a long time now because I've had it in my head for the longest time since I decided to, since I've been designing the characters, so I can share a little bit of it with you now. And we will be working back and forth as we go. And a lot of this is just creating the design language for the whole show. There will be, as I'm creating like a quote unquote show Bible that would go to a producer or a new show director, I want to have almost a whole one done. So, hey, you never know. I could actually submit this and get it done. I know people, I've got people that are working on other shows and I could submit it. We could see what happens. But again, thanks for coming along this journey with me. Please join me next week for part 2. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, great sleep and dumplings. I'm so glad you enjoyed it. And it is my pleasure to do this. This has been, this is a new thing for me. This last year was hard for everybody, and I just want to bring a little bit of joy and bring you some smiles and, share what I do and, chat with you guys. So thank you so much for being here. I will catch you guys next week. I will put up this on Instagram and Facebook in a slightly different format, and it'll be great. We'll work on it next week. So you guys have a great night. Peace out. God bless you. Stay safe. Be nice to those around you, and we'll get there. Okay? You guys have a great night. Thank you so much for joining me.